Hello everybody! It's time for another episode of But I Know I Love You. Yeah. It was quite the ordeal trying to record this one. You know, first you gotta get the spouse out of the house. Then you gotta deal with the cat and the dog whining because they want to be in the room with you. And then the cat's, playing with the cords of the microphone. And then, you lock them out. And then they're scratching at the door. And then you gotta yell at them. And then you gotta edit the F word out of all of your, book reading. So then you got these people with the cars and revving their engines. And oh my gosh. So I hope you enjoy it. Okay. We love this book though. I mean, it's fun reading and I'm enjoying reading it. She's enjoying reading it, but
Shower of Concern. It wasn't long before Camre had a tiny little baby bump. Although sometimes she thought she just looked fat, I told her I thought she looked more beautiful than ever. She had a kind of glow about her that I can't describe. And it sounds sort of corny, but every time I saw her, I knew that I had been given divine direction that night when I decided to go out to dinner instead of staying home and watching college football. Neither of us knew firsthand what to expect from a pregnancy, but Camre felt fine and the OB/GYN assured us that the baby was growing on schedule. We could hardly wait until we felt the first movements, the first kicks, the first signs that there was a little person in there waiting to meet us. We kept up our work routines, and while Camre was getting tired of the morning sickness, everyone assured us that it was normal and it would end soon. Once she was well into the second trimester, the nausea had pretty much tapered off. She was putting on weight and finally thought she looked pregnant, not out of shape. Not long after our 4th of July engagement, though, she began to feel a little off. She couldn't explain exactly what she was feeling, but she sensed some kind of change. We figured it was just part of being pregnant in the heat and humidity of the summer. At our next visit, the doctor assured us that everything was on schedule with Camre and the baby. We even had a sonogram from that time that shows Gavin giving us a thumbs up from the womb, so we didn't pay any attention to her odd feelings. Looking back at pictures with the gift of hindsight, I can see some little signs that things weren't quite right, like puffiness around her eyes, but the baby was growing right on schedule, and other than being tired, Camre seemed fine. Like most people, we assumed that if there were a problem, someone in the medical profession would let us know. By the time the 3rd trimester began, things started to go downhill rapidly. We went out for burgers one evening, and Camre got violently sick that night. We thought it must have been food poisoning, but I had eaten the same thing and didn't get sick. Camre never stopped vomiting that night or the next day. We knew that food poisoning can last a couple of days, so we still weren't terribly concerned, but when Camre got sicker and sicker and couldn't keep down anything, not even water, we realized that something more serious was going on. We thought maybe she had the flu, but she didn't have a fever or any other signs, so we made an appointment and went in to see the doctor. When the doctor weighed Camre, she expressed concern that Camre had lost quite a bit of weight since her last visit, but we all continued to assume that she had some sort of bug. I even joked that maybe it was the return of not morning sickness, but all-day sickness. The doctor ran some tests, which didn't show anything definite, so she prescribed some anti-nausea medication and told us to come back in a couple of days. When we returned a few days later, Camre was still vomiting and had lost even more weight. On that visit, the doctor told us that our baby wasn't growing at the rate he should have been. That's when the fear set in. Not only was Camre getting sicker by the day and no one could figure out what was happening, now our baby was having issues. Of course, Camre was unhappy because she was so sick, but her major worry was that her sickness was hurting our baby. I can remember sitting with her, holding her, and telling her that none of this was her fault and that we would get through it. I reminded her of what the lady had said about everything being okay. I'm not always sure I believed what I was saying, but I knew that I had to be strong for all of us, me, Camre, and our son. That was the start of the dark time of our lives. The doctor ran test after test, but they couldn't agree on a diagnosis. All the while, Camre just kept throwing up. The medication the doctors had prescribed helped somewhat. It didn't take the nausea away completely, but it calmed things down, and we began to count the days until our baby would be born. We had already decided on his name, Gavin John. I remember talking to him every night, telling him how excited we were to meet him in a few weeks. That's one of the hardest things for Camre, not remembering how happy and excited we were planning for the birth and how much we were looking forward to seeing our little boy. But the blessing is that she doesn't remember how worried we were either. People have asked if Camre had the same thing that Prince William's wife, Kate, has with her pregnancies. The answer's no. Kate has a condition that causes her to be severely nauseated and sick her entire pregnancy. It's like morning sickness on steroids. Camre had normal morning sickness that actually went away like it was supposed to. Getting violently ill in the last trimester was puzzling to the doctors, but they kept telling Camre to keep trying to eat as much as she could so that the baby had as long as possible to develop. The doctors explained that the longer Gavin could stay in the womb, the better it would be for him. When they told us that, we realized that there was a very real possibility that our baby would be premature, but we still didn't completely understand the danger that Camre herself was in. At this point, Camre took a leave from her job because she was so weak and tired. She began spending the days at her mom's, basically lying on the couch, trying not to throw up. The doctor prescribed Zofran, a strong anti-nausea medication that is administered through a pump. It operates like the insulin pump they give a person who has diabetes. A tiny needle was inserted under the skin of her belly, and she wore a battery pump on a fanny pack on her waist. Basically, the idea was to get a small dose of anti-nausea medication around the clock to keep the level steady rather than taking a pill every 8 hours and waiting for it to wear off. The Zofran did help with the nausea, but it didn't take it away completely. However, Camre said that the pump didn't really hurt, which was a small blessing, and she started to gain a little weight back. We began to feel a bit more encouraged. Our encouragement took a nosedive in early September. My mom and Camre's mom had put together a shower for our family and friends at an upscale restaurant called the Brick Street Grill in Grand Blanc, Michigan. Both of us were planning on going, but Camre was a lot more excited than I was. I was just sort of going along for the ride. The morning of the shower, she woke up feeling awful. "I really want to go," she said with a quaver in her voice. "I really want to go, but I don't think I can." "Are you sure?" I asked. "I'll be there with you, and your mom will be there." She shook her head. "You can decide a little later this afternoon, after you see how you are feeling," I added, trying to be encouraging. She shook her head more emphatically. "I just can't," she said, her eyes filling with tears. "I don't feel right. I just don't feel right. I'm just too tired. I can't do it." I was shocked. Nothing ever got Camre down. No matter what happened, she always managed to push through. For her to say she couldn't make the shower should have been a fire alarm warning to both of us. She had been having some bad days, but she had been having some pretty good days as well. It was completely out of character for her to admit she didn't feel well enough to go. "Okay," I said, trying not to sound too worried. "You have to do what's best for you. Do you want me to stay home with you?" "Of course not," she said. "One of us has to be there." I really didn't want to go, but she insisted. "Who's going to open the gifts?" she asked. "Your mom? My mom? I don't think so." I told her I'd take lots of pictures and text her while we opened presents. I remember looking in the mirror just before I left. I was wearing a short-sleeved blue shirt. I figured it was appropriate for a baby boy shower, and I had my glasses on instead of my contacts. I pulled on my favorite Old English D ball cap, looked myself in the eye, and said, "You've got this, Steve." Little did I know how often I would say that over the next years. At the shower, people asked about Camre. They questioned why she wasn't at her own shower. Since not a lot of people knew what was going on, I had to explain that she wasn't feeling well. As I talked about how sick she had been and the Zofran pump and all, I began to realize just how serious the situation was. I can remember thinking, wow, pregnancy is no joke. That was the moment when it dawned on me that pregnancy was a lot more dangerous than I thought it was, and that something really bad could happen to either Camre or Gavin, or both of them. Up until then, I had passed off everything as just part of pregnancy, but the reaction of family and friends opened my eyes to the seriousness of her condition. I was determined to make the best of the day because all of our family and friends were there, and while I was growing increasingly worried, I didn't want to worry everyone else. I tried to downplay the situation while we did the usual shower thing of food and cake. When it came time to open the gifts, I really missed Camre. As I look back, if I had known then what I know today, that day would have given me a little insight on what it was going to be like for the next several years. Camre would be with us, but she really wouldn't be present. I was going to have to do all the mom and dad things for our son. Despite the shadow of Camre's illness, the shower actually turned out to be a lot of fun. My mom gave us a crib and dresser set that could later convert into a toddler bedroom. We got all kinds of boy outfits, like a little baseball uniform and a blue and white shirt. We were also given a handmade blanket from a family member. We even got a sock monkey just like the one I had when I was a kid, the kind that's made from those brown and white socks with red heels that are used for the mouth. I made a few jokes about the monkey, and then when my mom gave us a particularly goofy little outfit, I said, "Really, Mom? Really? You think we're going to put him in this?" Even she had to laugh at that. As the shower wound down, I couldn't wait to share with Camre. I knew I had done my best with the situation we were in, but it wasn't the way we had hoped. When I got home, she was lying on the couch watching TV. "Hey, honey, how are you?" I asked. "I'm okay," she said, but I knew she was putting on a brave face so as to not worry me. That's one of the things that has always amazed me about her. I keep saying that she is the strongest, bravest woman I ever met, but it's really true. "So what did we get?" she demanded. "Hang on," I laughed. "They're in the truck." I brought in the armloads of gifts and set them on the floor next to her. We went through the things I had opened, and she oohed and awed appropriately. I told her about my mother's nerdy outfit, and we both laughed. Because I didn't want her to feel left out, I had saved a few gifts for her to open. She unwrapped some outfits and baby toys while I did my best to make it feel like a real celebration. In addition to the presents she unwrapped, I brought along the baby register where the big-ticket items like the crib and mattress were listed, so we got to go through all of that together and plan how we were going to fix up the nursery. Even though it was a happy time, with each gift, Camre got more teary-eyed until she was finally just bawling. "I don't understand," she sobbed. "I don't know why I'm sick. I don't know what I'm doing wrong." I reassured her it wasn't her fault and that she wasn't doing anything wrong, but she just shook her head and said, "I'm so frustrated. I'm not getting any better and nobody seems to know what's happening." There wasn't anything I could say. I felt the same way. I had always believed that doctors could figure out what was wrong and at least offer some solutions. But with Camre, they seemed just as confused as we were. I sat beside her and held her as she cried. "Everything is going to be okay," I said over and over. Finally, she sat up, wiped her eyes, and opened the last gift. It was this little hat that looked to me like a smiling dog with googly eyes. "Oh, a dog hat," I said. I guess they knew you loved dogs. I think it's a bear, Camre said, holding it up and pointing to its ears. Looks like a dog to me, I said. Dogs don't have round ears like that, she said. Then she grinned. Maybe it's a monkey. It can go along with the sock monkey, she laughed. I still think it looks like a bear, I said. But we can call it a monkey hat. Whatever it is, it's really cute, she said, tucking it back into the package. Gavin is going to look adorable in it. And he did. The day I brought our little monkey home, I remembered what his mom had said while we were waiting for him to be born, and I made sure that he was wearing that monkey hat.
All right. We survived it. This is nothing compared to what other people are dealing with in their lives. Absolutely. All right. We're hoping to squeeze in some more stuff soon. More episodes soon. We'll see. Okay. Love you. Bye.